How did you get my Discord, Chucky?
Wanna be my friend?
Drop the yak, Chucky. I know why you called.
I just wanna be your friend.
Do you really want to be friends?
Okay, screw it. I can't do this crap anymore. I'm here, Mr. Shade, 'cause I hear you're making a video all about me.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about how you were brought back into the mainstream because of that Chucky TV show.
That sounds pretty good, mainstream and all, blah blah blah. If you make that vid... If you make that vid... If you make that vid... That's it! Stupid dog. If you make that vid, I will come for you. And when Chucky comes for you, he gets even.
Just like you did in Seed of Chucky?
Don't bring that up, you jolly green jackass.
If you don't let me make the vid, I will use a force powerful than death. Twitter.
I'm not scared.
I was ready to write a whole call-out post, but I don't need to as there's already a tweet you made recently. You may have quickly deleted it, but I have screenshots of it, and I archived it on the Wayback Machine. It says, I, Chucky, hate kids. I also hate...
No, don't finish that. You won this round, Shade, but I'll be back. I'll always come back. Goddamn Twitter.
Hello, it's ShadeX, and today I'm gonna talk about toys. The toys I'll be talking about today are dolls. They are little pieces of plastic that resemble human beings. Usually a doll is themed after a child. These dolls can act to a friend to the kids that own them, or as a fake baby for owners to take care of. However, if a doll starts to talk, you better check the batteries or you are in trouble. Yeah, I'm talking about Chucky the Killer Doll in this video. The Child's Play franchise was well loved among horror fans with the first 3 films, but the franchise went downhill with its next 2 theatrical films. The first 3 delivered the scares while still having a wisecracking killer doll. However, in Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, he was turned into a horror comedy character. Those films made Chucky appear far less scary. It didn't help that the films did some really weird stuff with Chucky, which I'll get into later. While Bride and Seed aren't perfect though, they added more to the world of the Chuckyverse, which included Jennifer Tilly, who played Chucky's love interest, Tiffany Valentine. Despite adding new stuff to the lore, the tone of the last 2 Chucky theatrical films were not in line with the previous 3. It seemed the Chucky franchise was done after Seed's poor critical reception, but after 2 surprisingly quality direct-to-video films with Don Mancini acting as director, a show got made that continued that story. For this video, I'll be talking about Chucky's evolution in the original continuity films and the show. This is the story about how Chucky got his groove back. What makes Chucky work is that he's a serial killer named Charles Lee Ray trapped in a doll's body. While the original plan was to make Chucky a manifestation of a kid's anger, studio interference introduced the voodoo serial killer element. While interference in a movie is usually bad, in this situation a complex horror icon was created. Chucky went through a lot of development throughout the 7 mainline continuity films and the show. The first 3 films focused on him tormenting Andy Barclay. In the first film, he wants to get revenge against 2 people who wronged him. Eddie Caputo, his former partner in crime who abandoned him, and Police Detective Norris, the man who shot him. The first film is interesting because it's focused heavily on Andy's mom, Karen. This is her movie more than it is Andy's movie. The film is about her trying to prove her son's innocence after Andy gets blamed for Chucky's kills. The most iconic scene in the first film, in my opinion, is the scene which is 44 minutes in, where Karen threatens to throw Chucky in the fire. She finds out Chucky has no batteries in him all this time, and then threatens to throw him in the fire. Then Chucky says these kind words to her.
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
I'm actually being sarcastic. The charm of Chucky is that he is a foul-mouthed doll. Following that scene, Chucky talks for the rest of the film. The build-up was great, with Andy claiming the doll was alive. The first murder of Andy's mom's friend Maggie, who was babysitting Andy, was very interesting, especially since he used a good guy hammer to kill her. The fact Chucky uses toys to kill people in the original Child's Play trilogy was a really creative touch. That is something that was absent from the recent films and show that I really miss. Chucky's motives change by the end of the film. He succeeds in killing Eddie Caputo, but fails to kill Mike. Chucky learns from his former voodoo teacher, Dr. Death, that he can only transfer his soul to the person he first revealed his identity to. That person was Andy. If Chucky doesn't do that, he'll turn human. After learning that, Chucky kills him. The killer doll then goes to Andy's apartment and wants to transfer his soul to him. However, he fails after dying at the end of the first film. Still, it takes a lot for him to get killed. He gets burned, but he still lives. Even with his head off, he can still move his body. But after getting shot in the heart, he seems to have died. But of course, there are 6 more movies and a show starring Chucky, so he isn't dead for good. Child's Play 2 is when Chucky truly became a great character. The charm of this character is that he's a murderer, but he has a sense of humor. I laughed at the scene in Child's Play 2 where Chucky beats up another good guy doll named Tommy and buries it in the ground with a kid's shovel.
Eat dirt, Tommy.
I also found the quips he made before and after killing people funny as well.
You've been very naughty, Miss Kettlewell. How's it hanging, Phil?
In the second film, his motive is the same one he had at the end of the first film, to possess Andy Barkley. My favorite part of this film is near the end, where it seems he successfully has transferred his soul to Andy in the Good Guy Doll Factory. However, Chucky fails. This scene is very satisfying to watch. What follows is Andy and his foster sister Kyle fighting Chucky, the killer doll. Chucky gets seriously hurt in this film by them. At this point, he's become more human. He loses his hand in the film, which he replaces with a knife. By the end of the film, Chucky has given up in transferring his soul and is now determined to kill Andy. However, after being puffed up full of air by Kyle, Chucky explodes and seems to have died. This film has Chucky's best look, and animatronics were used heavily during the production of this film. Chucky has looked cheaper as time's gone by, but I understand why, especially since multiple dolls were present in the film Cult of Chucky. Stuff gets expensive as the years go on. I really appreciate all the work put into Child's Play 2. I definitely want to talk about this film more in depth at some point. Just know this film is great. It's definitely my favorite film out of the bunch. Child's Play 3 is not as good as 2, but I still like it. The intro is the most interesting thing about it. Chucky comes back to life because his blood gets mixed in with a batch of good guy dolls. Why did that happen? Isn't that unsanitary? Like
Child's Play 2.
They rebuild the Chucky doll for some reason, and then he comes back to life. Now they're mixing Chucky's blood into a doll, and he comes back to life again. Like, can't they just not put Chucky's DNA in dolls? Can they just not do that? He'd be dead for good if they did that. Anyway, the most interesting part of this film is the Good Guy Doll Toy Company reacting to the backlash that the Chucky doll caused. They blame Andy for them losing business, which I find very interesting. Anyway, Chucky kills the Good Guy CEO with toys, which is neat. He then goes online to find out where Andy is now. Alex Vincent doesn't play Andy in Child's Play 3, and Justin Whalen does instead, since this movie takes place during a time skip. This film features Andy in military school. His goal in this film is to stop Chucky from possessing a young black kid named Tyler. Chucky mentions this to Andy and says this funny line.
Tyler.
Yeah. Just think. Chucky's gonna be a bro.
What I love about this film is that Andy wants to protect this kid from Chucky because he doesn't want him to go through the torment he went through. One of the funniest scenes in this film that says a lot about Chucky's character is when he scares a man and he has a heart attack.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
It's clear Chucky wants to physically kill people, and if he can't do that, it frustrates him. Anyway, at the end of the film, Andy saves Tyler from playing a game of hide the soul with Chucky. The doll ends up getting destroyed in an industrial fan. While this film isn't a strong finish to the Child's Play trilogy, it isn't terrible. Soon, however, the Chucky franchise became more comedic with Bride of Chucky and its sequel, Seed of Chucky. That doesn't make those movies bad, though. Jennifer Tilly starred in both films as Tiffany Valentine, Charles Lee Ray's girlfriend. She is the highlight of both films. Bride is a fine film that added cool stuff to the Chucky franchise lore. However, Seed gets a bit too weird at times, which I'll get into later. Bride is great. It's a film that reveals Chucky's love interest, Tiffany, who would go on to become one of the most iconic characters in the franchise. I love how she gets out of her way to stitch Chucky together. His scarred up look is very iconic. However, I didn't like the addition of a Voodoo for Dummies book. I would have found it more interesting if there was an ancient book that Tiffany used. Still, the opening of this movie is great. I love how it uses Rob Zombie's song, Living Dead Girl. I found it interesting that Chucky killed her and transferred her soul to a doll. Bride of Chucky is a campy horror movie that I really enjoy. The film is about a couple named Jesse and Jade who are on the road together to deliver the Chucky and Tiffany dolls to Charles Lee Ray's grave in Hackensack, New Jersey. Chucky wants to go there so he can retrieve the Heart of Dumbala, a necklace that he needs to get out of his doll body, along with Tiffany. While this film doesn't make me feel uneasy for the safety of the human characters, as the 3 Child's Play films did, I really liked learning about Chucky and Tiffany's relationship. Their relationship reminds me of the Joker and Harley Quinn's. By the end of the film, Tiffany finds out Chucky is in the wrong, fights him, and saves Jesse and Jade. Chucky then dies in his own grave, but not before saying a now iconic line.
Go ahead and shoot. I'll be back. I always come back. Yeah, but dying is such a bitch.
The film ends with a doll baby being born, which sets up Seed of Chucky. The poster says, "Get a load of Chucky this November." And you know who else is gonna get something this November? Tiffany Valentine. She's gonna get... The poster also says, "Fear the Second Coming." That's how Chucky's gonna feel after me and Tiffany... Seed, while being enjoyable, goes full-on comedy, which makes it the weakest film. The problem is that while Seed does have its gory death scenes, it doesn't deliver the scares. Still, it does introduce Chucky's gender fluid kid, Glenn/Glenda. They are a good addition. I like how they have a nightmare of being a killer doll at the start of the film.
And now, you're pissing your pants! You're pissing your pants! You're
I also like how their evil side is Glenda, who appears later in the film. Despite introducing an interesting character, the film has inconsistencies. For example, Glenn is made in Japan, and so are Chucky and Tiffany. However, in the Child's Play films, the iconic killer doll was made in Chicago, Illinois, in the Good Guys factory. There's a scene at the start that takes place during Christmas with Chucky and Tiffany killing Santa. That is way more interesting than the film that follows. While enjoyable, this is the weakest out of all the mainline Chucky films. Skit is really goofy, and it is the film that got me over my fears of Chucky as a kid. One interesting thing about the film is that Jennifer Tilly plays herself in this film. There's a plot where she tries to get a role in Redman's movie about the Virgin Mary. The main plot of Seed of Chucky is about the killer doll and his romantic partner, Tiffany, now acting as parents to their kid Glenn, who they can't decide whether or not they are a boy or girl. To set a good example for their kid, they give up killing. However, by the end of the film, they both fail. Their goal in the film is to transfer their souls into Redman and Jennifer's bodies, respectively. Seed is a really off-putting film for one single reason. I don't know why the writers thought Chucky choking the chicken in the 5th film was a good idea. Sure, Bright had this joke.
Have you got a rubber?
Have I got a rubber?
Yeah.
Tiff,
What?
look at me. I'm all rubber.
Oh, that's right. Wait, I thought you were plastic.
But the film had a lot of charm to it compared to Seed, so I'm willing to forgive that one scene. Having Chucky do that thing really diminishes him being scary. Chucky isn't the scary killer doll that he was in the Child's Play trilogy. Sure, he jokes around, but he doesn't do anything terrifying. Honestly, this film feels like the iconic killer doll is going through a midlife crisis. The film ends with Tiffany and Chucky planning to transfer their souls into Jennifer Tilly and her driver's body. However, Chucky decides he loves being a killer doll. He decides against taking over a human body, and I think that's really cool.
And I don't want to be your chauffeur. As a doll, I'm fucking infamous. I'm one of the most notorious slashers in history, and I don't want to give that up. I am Chucky, the killer doll, and I dig it!
That is definitely the most important scene in that whole movie. The film ends with Chucky getting killed by Glenn. Prior to him murdering him with an axe, there is some kung fu that happens. It's really goofy. Tiffany ends up successfully possessing the actress who plays her, which I find very interesting, and she raises Glenn and Glenda, who've split their soul into 2 kids. I really like what's teased in this film. At the end, Glenda's clearly evil in some way, while Glenn is innocent. And the film ends with Glenn getting Chucky's hand as a birthday present, and then it attacks him. While not all that scary, Bride and Seed are fine. However, Jesse and Jay, the couple from Bride, aren't as interesting protagonists like Andy Barkley, Karen, or Kyle were. Still, Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany being in these films made these movies worth watching. She is a really great character that was added to the Chucky lore.
Brought to you exclusively by Play Pals, makers of Good Guys and other fine toys.
What? Oh, come
Found
on.
in toy
Can't a
stores throughout
serial
the greater
killer possessed
Chicago
doll
area.
watch a little bit of Raw without having to deal with commercials every 2 seconds?
Thankfully, the Chucky franchise would return to its horror roots with the films Curse and Cult. What is great about these 2 films is that it stars the voice of Chucky, Brad Dourif's daughter, Fiona. Fiona Dourif is a very strong protagonist in the form of Nika. She's a disabled woman in a wheelchair. Cursed Chucky follows the same format of the first Child's Play, which I really love. Chucky doesn't talk until later in the film, but the audience is told by Nika's niece, Alice, that he can talk.
Hey, Nika.
What about Chucky?
He says there is no God.
Who said that?
Chucky did. He said that life's a bitch and then you die bleeding like a stuck pig.
Alice, you know it's not nice to curse.
I don't curse, Mommy. Chucky did. Mommy, am I going to die?
Curse is an actually scary Chucky film which came out 9 years after Seed. Seed was Don Mancini's first time as director after writing the previous 4 films. Seed was a failure, but Curse revitalized the franchise. The film begins with Nika's mom being killed. The rest of her family gets killed slowly over time in the film. Still, this film doesn't make Chucky humorless. For example, Chucky eats car keys after Nika reaches for them. He's such a little shit, but I can't stop laughing whenever I see him do things like this. The big reveal is that Charles Lee Ray killed Nika's father and held her mother captive because of a creepy fixation he had with her. The police show up at the house he has her captive in, and he stabs Nika's mother's stomach. I really like the reveal that Chucky was the one who made Nika disabled from birth. It turns out that this was the thing Chucky got caught doing before Mike Norris killed him. Anyway, my favorite thing about this film is how Nika escapes alive from Chucky. She pisses him off by saying that he never truly ruined Andy's life since he's still alive, and mentions his completion anxiety.
So you never actually killed Andy Barclay, did you?
What?
No, it's called completion anxiety. It's very common in males. You are a male, aren't you?
I'm gonna kill you slow.
Yeah, no, I get that. 25 years must be the slowest murder in history.
Still, Nika gets arrested and blamed for Chucky's crimes. She is deemed insane. It is also revealed that Tiffany is still with Chucky and is the one sending him in the mail. The film ends with the killer doll playing Hide the Soul with Alice. It's a really dark ending. But if you watch the unrated cut, you'd see the end credits scene of Chucky attempting to kill Andy Barclay. However, Andy has the upper hand on him and this badass scene happens.
Play with this.
Andy!
The original actor, Alex Vincent, returned to the Chucky franchise. I remember being happy when I saw the scene on YouTube. This scene is so satisfying. Chucky tries his best to torment Andy, but even as an adult, he has the upper hand. Andy would have a larger role in Cult of Chucky. In this film, Andy goes on a date with a woman, however, she's afraid of his large number of guns that he keeps at his house. He is still known as the kid who was irrationally afraid of a doll. At the start of the film, Andy tortures Chucky's head by burning him with a blowtorch. However, Cult is, for the most part, Nika's movie, with Andy's showdown against Chucky being teased all throughout. Cult is an amazing movie that has the best of both worlds. It delivers the scares and the humor. The film is about Nika being institutionalized in a mental health center. I'll talk about this film in depth later down the road, but since I'm talking about the Chucky show, I need to give context about what happened. One moment I loved was Andy and Tiffany finally interacting via a phone call. I also really love the reveal of multiple Chuckies. Charles Lee Ray can now split his soul into multiple dolls. I do think that's an interesting concept. However, I do have a few major issues with it. I really wish they brought back the Heart of Damballa. That was retconned to exist in Bride. That would have been a great way to have Chucky split his soul, but instead he learns how to do it on VoodooForDummies.com. Despite the lazy writing, I love how this film builds on Chucky's desire to stay a doll that was planted in Seed of Chucky prior. Chucky reveals what made him make this decision, and it really hurts to hear.
Theoretically, anyone or anything with 2 legs and a hand for stabbing. Like Alice. It was fun for a while. People trust cute little girls almost as much as cute little dolls. But little girls can get hurt when their victims try to fight back. Then they ain't so cute anymore.
Yeah, Chucky possessed Alice and killed people. He realizes a doll is the perfect way to kill people since kids can get hurt. Anyway, the film ends with him possessing Nika. The scene where Andy faces down against what he thinks is the final Chucky is a great scene. I like how Andy thinks he's won only to realize he hasn't. I like that he doesn't hesitate about killing Nika after he realizes she has Chucky's soul in her. However, Andy runs out of bullets and gets locked in his cell. The film ends with Chucky kissing Tiffany as Nika. The two get into her iconic red car and there's a Tiffany doll in the back. The three laugh about Alice's death. In the unrated cut, the film ends with Chucky's head being tortured by Kyle, who hadn't been in a Chucky film since Child's Play 2, which was all the way back in 1990. What I really love about these direct-to-DVD Chucky films were the tease of the return of Alex Vincent and Christine Elise as Andy and Kyle. The last time audiences saw them, they were kids, so it was neat seeing them return to the franchise as grown-ups. Andy had a big role in the second film, and Kyle's appearance at the end was a surprise. Finally, there's the Chucky show. It is amazing. This show is what got me into the franchise and led to me binging every Chucky movie, aside from the Child's Play reboot. Yeah, this is the only time I'll mention Mark Hamill Chucky in this video.
This is for Tupac.
After a return to form in 2 direct-to-DVD Chucky films, he has recently made the jump to TV. I watched all 8 episodes of the Chucky show and I really loved it. I made sure to watch the season 1 finale live on TV, and I rarely do that with shows. What is great about the Chucky TV show is how personal it is to the creator. The show is written by creator Don Mancini, who is gay, and this show has a gay teenager protagonist named Jake Wheeler. Jake is a very interesting protagonist. The first episode has him buy a Chucky doll from a garage sale. After buying the doll, he listens to a boy named Devin's true crime podcast about Charles Lee Ray. We learn that Jake is an artist and that he plans to use Chucky's head for one of his sculptures. However, for some reason he cannot pull the head off. Soon the audience learns about Jake's family life. Jake lives just with his dad as his mom passed away. Jake has a cousin named Junior and an uncle named Logan. One thing I found interesting about this show is that Lucas and Logan are played by the same actor. During the dinner scene, we learn about Jake's art hobby, and we learn that Junior is more successful than him since he does track and field. Junior also still has a mom, unlike Jake. After the dinner, Lucas destroys Jake's art project. To make things worse, Lexi, Junior's girlfriend, bullies Jake for carrying the Chucky doll around with him. Soon, Jake gets a call from a guy who is clearly Andy Barkley, warning him about the doll and asking him to check the batteries. He asserts Chucky and he learns he is Charles Lee Ray. He then throws the doll away. The doll finds Jake again though. He gets bullied by Lexi at the talent show when she alludes to him being gay and having a crush on Devin. This leads to Jake taking Chucky on stage with him with what appears to be a ventriloquist act. It's a really funny scene where Chucky roasts Lexi by looking at what is on her phone. I did not expect Chucky to mention Pokemon porn at all.
Apparently she's Botox curious. She's into Pokemon porn.
Anyway, the episode ends in an interesting way. Jake gets into a fight with his dad, who is homophobic. Lucas then goes downstairs and Chucky kills him. He does this using his vomit, which leads to Jake's dad getting electrocuted. Jake then moves in with Junior's family and then talks to Chucky, who says that they should kill Lexi next. Overall, the Chucky show's first season is great. It definitely revitalized the franchise in a great way. I love how every mainline movie is canon. Even Seed of Chucky is canon, with Chucky mentioning his gender fluid kid Glenn/Glenda. All 8 episodes are great. What I love about this show is that it explores how Chucky became a killer as a kid and how he first met his love interest, Tiffany Valentine. These moments are shown via flashbacks all throughout the first season. Also, Fiona Dourif plays Charles Lee Ray, while her dad, Brad, provides dubbed over voiceover. She looks so much like her father, it's scary. Chucky's main goal in this season is to get a kid to commit a murder. This all pays off in a big way in the finale. The humor in this show is great. The moments that make me crack up the most are the moments where Chucky tries to convince the kids in the show that murder is fun.
Killing's good, clean fun for the whole family. You can kill the housekeeper. You can kill the babysitter. You can even kill your sister.
Mommy says real killing is bad.
Yeah, well, Mommy's full of shit.
Mommy says it isn't nice to swear.
Mommy's working her way up my list pretty fucking quick.
Most of all, though, I really love how this show is a culmination of the Chucky franchise. Alex Vincent is back as Andy Barkley, and Christine Elise is back as Kyle. When they are shown in the show on screen for the first time, they are revealed to be Chucky hunters, essentially. Tiffany is back as well and is now with Chucky, who was in the body of Nika. Really want to talk about the show in depth at some point, but I'll save that for a big review of the show once it is finished. Anyway, I want to gush about the show a bit more now, so I'll go over the season 1 finale. So, spoiler warning, skip to this part if you don't want spoilers. The finale of Chucky was action-packed. I loved how suspenseful it was. The cliffhanger on episode 7 was insane, with Junior killing his dad Logan by bashing him with the Chucky doll. It seemed by that point that Chucky was going to win. He had a killer protege by his side, who he used in order to do a ritual to spread his soul into other doll bodies. Devin, Jake's boyfriend, is in danger because he is tied up by Nika Chucky. There is also the tease of Andy Barkley approaching Junior's house alone. The finale that followed was great. Andy didn't die at the start, thankfully, and Chucky hid in the toilet from him like a coward. He has a valid response to fear him, so I think it's funny he hid there.
Why didn't you kill him?
He had a gun. I hate guns. They're like my Achilles heel, along with axes, fire, and those big industrial-sized fans.
There. The concept of multiple Chuckies in one room was funny. There is a large number of them than there were in Cult of Chucky. My favorite moment with them is when the Chucky we've been following all season tells them they can't kill babies. The other Chucky dolls then have some dark questions.
Say nobody under the age of 5 or 6. Fair enough? What about twins? Those freaks will gang up on you. I mean, 2 against 1? That's not a fair fight. Am I right?
Tiffany is great in this episode. In this finale, she rejects Chucky and chooses Nika. It's also revealed that Tiffany snitched on Chucky, which led to him getting killed by Detective Mike Norris. Despite that, Tiffany has no issue helping Chucky with his plans, which I find interesting. Andy and Kyle presumably die in an explosion. The Chucky we've been following all season dies too. Devin is believed to have died too, which saddens Jake. However, Devin is alive. Anyway, to make a long story short, Chucky invades the theater and goes on a butt-stabbing spree along with a second one, who Junior takes with him. We get a gag about Chucky being strong for some reason during Jake's showdown with Chucky.
You're thinking, how could a little doll possibly be so strong?
Doesn't make any sense!
You're nothing against the power of the great almighty Dimbala!
However, after Junior sacrifices himself to save Lexi, Chucky loses his power boost apparently, and Jake is able to squeeze him to death. Jake tells him that he wishes his dad stayed alive so he could introduce him to Devin, which leads to Chucky saying this.
Yes, he would have. If you only got the chance to meet Devin.
Oh, that is so gay.
Wow, Chucky, I thought you were an LGBTQ ally. Anyway, the episode ends with 2 Chuckies dead, but a truck full of them on their way out of Hackensack. However, Andy Barkley gets into the truck and flips off Tiffany. It seems he's going to save the day and get rid of Chucky once and for all, but then Tiffany the doll shows up with a gun! The episode ends with a funeral for Junior, and man, I gotta mention, all the kids are orphans now aside from Lexi, who still has her mom. Chucky even jokes about this at the end but yeah, there's gonna be a season 2 this year, and I am hyped. Chucky is definitely back to being a horror icon after this show. Chucky has a perfect blend of horror and comedy, it's great, but you know what's not great? How Nika was treated by the end of season 1. She is in the same position her mom was in with Charles Lee Ray, but even worse, and this time with Tiffany. She has no arms or legs and is being held captive by her. She deserves so much better. Hashtag justice for Nika. Okay, spoilers are over. Overall, Chucky is a really iconic horror villain. What makes the character work is that he's an evil killer doll that cracks jokes. The problem with Seed was that it relies more on humor than any previous Chucky movie. Do I hate the film though? No, it's a really fun watch. I am glad Don Mancini isn't retconning anything out of existence. Everything in Seed is canon. For example, Tiffany is in the body of Jennifer Tilly and uses her newfound identity to help Chucky's plan in season 1 of the show. Glenda even gets mentioned in the season 1 finale. While Seed had issues, the media that followed brought back Chucky to his horror roots and managed to have a healthy balance of comedy and scares. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video I made on the Chucky franchise. This has been ShadeX, and I hope you all feel nothing but good vibes.
It's fucking Chucky.